ready to question everything? Tune in.
Out there, what's the plan? Are we pawns or the kings of the land? It's the Robert and Crew Show. Down the rabbit hole we go. Conspiratorial, what's that in play?
Welcome back to the Robert and Crew Show. As always, I'm your host, Robert.
And I'm your co-host, Crew.
And tonight, Crew wanted to go over the Garden of Eden.
Most definitely. One hell of an amazing topic to go over. This one has a lot of conspiracies to it.
You gotta grab my coffee real quick. I gotta go grab my coffee real quick. I won't be any good to anybody without my fucking coffee. I'm gonna go grab my coffee.
Yeah, we heard the man. He needs his coffee. But yes, tonight we have an amazing topic for you guys tonight. It's going to be interesting. We got some pictures for you guys. We got something from the CIA. We got a lot of information. This is an informational episode tonight. And there will not be any videos because we are on YouTube, because YouTube likes to take our shit down whenever we play a video because they will think it's copyrighted.
You say the CIA?
Yeah, I have something from CAI.gov that I sent you.
I'm interested.
Oh, yeah, it's a book,
I'm
too.
Interested when those three-letter agencies get involved.
Well, it's a book called The Adam and Eve Project, I think it was.
The Adam and Eve Project?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. I could be wrong. I know it's Adam and Eve something, but I think it's Project. But
and you sent this to me?
Oh, yeah, it's a link.
News and mystery, midnight history. It's the Robert and Crew Show.
Oh, the Adam and Eve story. Okay.
Yeah, so declassified and part sanitized copy approved for release 2013, June 24th. CIA file RDP 79B007 5-2A-003-0007001-8.
So what are we looking at here?
This is the cross section of the Earth. Looks pretty round to me. The passions and perils of nationhood. Save for pop. For sheer and pervasive fervor, the love of nationhood has no equal among contemporary political passions. Independence independence is the fetish, fad, and totem of the times. Everybody who can muster up a quorum in the colony wants freedom. Now, in such the temper of the age, they can usually have it. Roughly 1/3 of the world, some 1 billion people, have run up their own flags, and the great new nations over the face of the earth. In the process, they have also created for themselves and for the world a cadres of unstable and uneasy entities that are usually kept alive only by economic aid and stand consistently on the verge of erupting into turmoil. Nationhood is not an easy art to master, as Ghana, Nigeria, and Indonesia have painfully learned in the recent weeks. Their troubles are particularly instructive, for most of the world's new nations do not have anything approaching even the modest resource of Ghana, Nigeria, or Indonesia. Most of them are poor, primitive, and ill-equipped for so much as the basics of nationhood. Some have capital cities that are not cities at all, and the government ministers who have not learned to administer. Government, in fact, is usually the biggest and sometimes the only industry in many of the new countries, and corruption is a way of life. Many of the new nations do not have minimal communications and transportation or enough educated men to fill a new country's needs. In some cases, arbitrary national boundaries cut across ethnic groups that mock the rational use of resources and defy any foreseeable hope of achieving distinct national identity teams with more new nation afflictions than anywhere else. But the problem of the nations that are really not nations by any reasonable standards is worldwide. Latin America has British Guiana, which wants to go its own way on a shoestring, and the Middle East has Yemen. Asia has Laos and its Maldive Islands, neither of which makes sense as a nation. In different but equally difficult category is Pakistan, bigger and more populous than the others, but separated into two parts by thousands of miles of unfriendly land. So this is an essay on the passions and perils of nationhood. It's interesting.
I guess so. Yeah.
I'm not going to read this whole fucking thing, but
You're good.
That's pretty crazy. I mean, if you look through here, it looks like this is all a. So this is the Adam and Eve story. This is the start of the Adam and Eve story. So this was like a prequel, I guess. This essay was a prequel. But the Adam and Eve story by Chan Thomas. Taweo, without her help through the years of sleepless nights and seemingly endless trails of study and translation, this book never would have came into being. Context: the next cataclysm. 1. The Great Floods. 7. The story. 19. The event. 29. Genesis. 35. The conclusion. 45. The next cataclysm. Like Noah's 6,500 years ago, like Adam and Eve's 11,500 years ago, this too will come to pass. With a rumble so low as to be inaudible, growing, throbbing, then fuming into a thundering roar like earthquake starts. Only it's not like any earthquake in recorded history. In California, the mountains shake like ferns into a breeze. The mighty Pacific rears back into piles up into a mountain of water more than 2 miles high, then starts its race eastward. With the force of 1,000 armies, the wind attacks, ripping, shredding everything in its supersonic bombardment. The unbelievable mountain of Pacific seawater follows the wind eastward, burying Los Angeles and San Francisco as if they were but grains of sand. Jeez. Nothing but nothing stops the relentless, overwhelming onslaught of the wind and ocean. Across the continent, the 1,000-mile-per-hour wind wreaks its unholy vengeance everywhere, mercilessly, unceasingly. Every living thing is ripped into shreds while being blown across the countryside, and the earthquake leaves no place untouched. In many places, the Earth's molten sublayer breaks through and spreads a sea of white-hot liquid fire to add to the Holocaust. Within 3 hours, the fantastic wall of water moves across the continent, burying the wind-ravaged land under 2 miles of seething water coast to coast. In a fraction of the day, all vestiges of civilization are gone, and the great cities Los Angeles, San Francisco, Chicago, Dallas, New York are nothing but legends. Barely a stone is left where millions walked just a few hours before. A few lucky ones who managed to find shelter from the screaming wind on the lee side of Pikes Peak watch the sea of molten fire break through the quaking valleys below. The raging waters follow, piling higher and higher, steaming over the molten earth fire and rising. Almost to their feet, only great mountains such as one can withstand the cataclysmic onslaught. North America is not alone in their death throes. Central America suffers the same cannonade, wind, earth, fire, and indentation. South America finds the Andes not high enough to stop the cataclysmic violence pounded out by nature in her berserk rage. In less than a day, Ecuador, Peru, and western Brazil are shaken madly by the devastating earthquake, burned by molten earth fire, buried under cubic miles of torrential Pacific seas, and then turned into a frozen hell. Everything freezes. Man, beast, plant, and mud are all rock hard in less than 4 hours. Europe cannot escape the onslaught. The raging Atlantic piles higher and higher upon itself. Following the screeching wind eastward, the Alps, Pyrenees, Urals, and Scandinavian mountains are shaken and heavied even higher before the wall of water strikes. Western Africa and the sands of the Sahara vanish in the nature's wrath under the savage attack by the wind and ocean. The area bounded by the Congo, South Africa, and Kenya suffers only severe earthquakes and winds, no inundation. Survivors there marvel at the sun standing still in the sky for nearly half a day. Eastern Siberia and the Orient suffer a strange fate, indeed as though a giant subterranean scythe sweeps away the earth's foundations, accompanied by the wind and its screaming symphony of supersonic death and destruction. As the Arctic Basin leaves its polar home, eastern Siberia, Manchuria, China, and Burma are subjected to the same annihilation as South America: wind, earth, fire, inundation, and freezing. Jungle animals are shredded to ribbons by the wind, piled into mountains of flesh and bone, and buried under avalanches of seawater and mud. Then comes the terrible, paralyzing cold. Not man nor beast, not plant nor earth is left unfrozen, and the entire eastern Asian continent, most of which remains below sea level. East of the Urals in western Siberia, a few lucky people survive the fantastic winds and quakes. Antarctica and Greenland, with their ice caps, now rotate around the Earth in the torrid zone, and the fury of the wind and inundation marches on for 6 days and nights. During the 6th day, the ocean starts to settle in their new homes, running off the high grounds. On the 7th day, the horrendous rampage is over. The Arctic ice age is ended. A new Stone Age begins. The oceans, the great homogenizers, have laid down another deep layer of mud over the existing strata in the Great Plains and exposed in the Grand Canyon painted desert and badlands. The Bay of Bengal Basin, just east of India, is now at the North Pole. The Pacific Ocean, just west of Peru, is at the South Pole. Greenland and the Antarctica are now rotating equatorially in the torrid zone. find their ice caps dissolving madly in the tropical heat. Massive walls of water and ice surge towards the oceans, taking everything from mountains to plains and gushing heaving paths, creating immense seasonal moraines. In less than 25 years, the ice caps are gone, and the oceans around the world rise to over 200 feet with the newfound water. The torrid zone will be shrouded in a fog for generations from enormous amounts of moisture poured into the atmosphere by melting ice caps. New ice caps begin to form in the new polar areas. Greenland and Antarctica emerge with verdant tropical foliage. Australia is the new unexplored continent in the north temperate zone, with only a few handfuls of survivors populating its vastness. New York lies at the bottom of the Atlantic, shattered and melted by earth, fire, and covered by unbelievable amounts of mud. Of San Francisco and Los Angeles, not a trace is left. Egypt emerges from its Mediterranean inundation, and new higher, still the land of the ages. The commonplace of our time becomes the mysterious Baalbek of the new era. A new era. Yes, the cataclysm has done its work well. The greatest population regulator of all does once more for man what he refuses to do for himself, and drives the pitiful few who survive into a new Stone Age. Once more, the earth has shifted its 60-mile thick shell, with the poles moving almost to the equator in a fraction of a day. Again, the atmosphere and oceans, refusing to change direction with the Earth's shell, have wiped out almost all life. After this tumble, we join Noah, Adam and Eve, Atlantis, Mu, and Olympus, and Jesus joins Osiris, Taor, Zeus, and Vishnu. The Great Floods. So it sounds like in the very beginning here, it's talking about cataclysm.
Mm-hmm.
And by cataclysm, we're talking Great Flood. Or possibly even if you want to talk about a Great Flood, they were also talking about mud. About there being tons and tons of mud. So now Tartaria doesn't sound too crazy, does it?
Nope. It sounds extremely real.
So let's get into this. Noah, Adam and Eve, Vishnu, Osiris, what do they have in common? They represent eras, ages apart, and yet somehow they all join hands in the next cataclysm and walk with us. There are others who walk with us too, men of science, long forgotten, those who first saw that these tumbles, these cataclysmic catastrophes or revolutions of the Earth's shell have happened before, countless times. J. Andre de Luc in 1779 and Georges Cuvier in 1812 were the foremost. Dolomieu, the famous mineralogist, joined the consensus, as did Escher and Forel, the Swiss geologists. Also, J. Andrew de Luc Jr. and von Busch, they all agreed that the cataclysms were caused by sudden revolutions of the surface of the Earth. Cuvier, in his theory of the Earth, first published in 1812, based his conclusions on his unparalleled correlative research in stratigraphy, comparative anatomy, and paleontology, paleontology. Yeah, it's paleontology, right?
Mm-hmm.
At the time he wrote, every part of the earth, every hemisphere, every continent exhibits the same phenomena. There has therefore been a succession of variations in the economic of organic nature. The various catastrophes which have disturbed the strata have given rise to numerous shiftings of this continental basin. It is of much importance to the mark that these repeated eruptions and retreats of the sea have neither been slow nor gradual. On the contrary, most of the catastrophes which occasioned them have been sudden, and this is especially easy to be proved with regard to the last of these catastrophes. I agree, therefore, with M. de Luc and Dolomieu in thinking that if anything in geology be established, it is that the surface of the globe has undergone a great and sudden revolution, the date of which cannot be much earlier than 5 or 6,000 years ago. Also, one preceding revolution at least had put the continents underwater, perhaps 2 or 3 eruptions of the sea. That's crazy.
Yeah.
These alternations now appear to me to form the problem in geology that is of most importance to solve. In order to solve it satisfactorily, it would be necessary to discover the cause of these events. These ideas have haunted, I may almost say they have tormented me during my research among fossils, bones, research, which embraces but a very small part of those phenomena of the age preceding the last general revolution of the globe, in which are yet intimately connected with all the others. Many attempts have been made to answer the charge made to the geological profession by Cuvier to explain these sudden revolutions. Amongst other, Velikovsky tried it through his study of myths and legends. Hapgood tried it, Brown attempted, and in the process amassed a tremendous library of geological data. Every time the cataclysmic concept has come to life, the beast has been stoned, burned at the stake, beaten to a pulp, and buried with a vengeance. But the corpse simply won't stay dead. Each time it raises the lid of its coffin and says, the sepulchral tones, you will die before I. The latest of challenges is Professor Frank C. Hibben, who in his book, The Lost Americans, said, there was no ordinary extinction of vague geological period which fizzled to uncertain end. This death was a was catastrophic and all-inclusive. What caused the death of 40 million animals, the corpus delicti, and the mystery may be found almost anywhere. Their bones lie bleaching in the sands of Florida and in the gravels of New Jersey. The weather out of the dry terraces of Texas and protrude from the sticky ooze of tar pits off the Wilshire Boulevard in Los Angeles. The bodies of the victims are everywhere. We find literal thousands together, young and old, full with dam, calf with cow. The muck pits of Alaska are filled with evidence of universal death. A picture of quick extinction. Any argument to the cause must apply to North America, Siberia, and Europe as well. Mammoth and bison were torn and twisted as though by cosmic hand in a godly rage. In most places, Alaskan muck blanket is packed with animal bones and debris and trainload lots, mammoth, mastodon, bison, horses, wolves, bears, and lions. A faunal population in the middle of some cataclysmic catastrophe was suddenly frozen in a grim charade. That's nutty.
Mm-hmm.
Can you imagine how cold it would have to get to freeze everything, like suddenly, just freeze absolutely everything?
Yeah.
Fantastic winds, volcanic burning, inundation and burial in muck, preservation by deep freeze. Any good solution to a consuming mystery must answer all of the facts challenges Hibben. The challenge wouldn't leave me alone. Like a hunger it gnawed at my subconscious. I could hear the deep tones of Cuvier's challenge, find the cause of these events still reverberating through the sacred halls of science. Ghostly unanswered, I felt Hibben's challenge later on prodding. Answer all of the facts, I decided that this cataclysmic concept, this catastrophic end, which seems to visit our planet time after time, needed verification or refutation once and for all. The first step was to gather all of the known accepted data from as many of Earth's sciences as possible. Stratigraphy, archaeology, anthropology, paleontology, radiology, oceanography, seismology, glaciology, and many other fields. Correlation of the data between sciences gave the answer. Although there is enough data in each science to indicate that these cataclysms happen, There was not enough to prove the concept, but between science correlation showed indeed that the concept was true. Not only did it verify that the events have happened, but disclosed when the first 5 cataclysms were and what positions the shell of the earth has been in for the last 35,000 years. So after years of research, beginning in 1949, Cuvier's challenge had an answer. Yes, indeed, the cataclysms do happen, and the last one, 6,500 years ago, was Noah's flood. Holy shit. So does that mean that we have proof that the flood happened?
Mm-hmm.
That Noah's flood happened? That's crazy. This has been released by the CIA, by the way. So this is, I mean, I guess we can't say it's legitimate, but they followed it.
Yeah.
All right. So they happen. What is it that happens each time? The challenge was really twofold. Find the process, what happens in a cataclysm, and the trigger, what causes the cataclysm to start. What a chase, and what a dramatic story of the Earth's history we uncovered. Civilizations of 20,000 years ago, more advanced than our wildest imaginations. Prehistoric legends from Greece, Egypt, India, and South America, which became history instead of legend. Lost continents in the Atlantic and Pacific, which became dated realities with logical reasons for their sudden disappearances. Yes, Vishnu came alive. A man lived through a cataclysm 70,000 years before our time, actually 10 cataclysms ago. Now he is known as the Hindu god of 10 resurrections from the waters. Osiris, too, was rediscovered. He was the Jesus of his time, a man of Egypt some 15,000 years ago. Noah smiled at us from the pages of the Epic of Gilgamesh. He actually was a Sumerian named Utnapishtim, who lived 6,500 years ago. The ark he built is more than legend. The process of cataclysm is known now. Look at the cross-section of the earth inside the front cover. You'll see 2 molten layers, the orange ones. The important one is the thin molten layer about 60 miles thick, which is between 60 and 120 miles down, below the surface of the earth. The thick, deep molten layer starting 1,800 miles down at the bottom of the mantle and extending 1,300 miles deeper is the outer core. Now, both molten layers are liquid. However, the inner magnetic and electrical structure of the Earth makes these layers act as if they were near solid or plastic. As long as the magnetic or electrical structure maintains its orderliness, this old Earth keeps rotating on its axis in a normal manner. The growing ice caps in Antarctica and Greenland are not centered on the Earth's axis, and because they rotate around the poles, are trying to swing down to the equator. The only way they could do it would be to pull the whole 60-mile thick shell around with them. As long as the shallow molten layer stays plastic, the shell won't shift. But once every few thousand years, the magnetic and electrical orderliness inside the Earth is disrupted, and the molten layer is allowed to act like a free liquid, which it was all the time anyways. It then serves as a lubricant for the ice caps to pull the shell of the Earth around the inside. And 1/4 to 1/2 a day, the poles move almost to the equator and all hell lets loose. The atmosphere and oceans don't shift with the shell, they just keep rotating west to east. And at the equator, the spread is 1,000 miles per hour. The speed is 1,000 miles per hour. It has to be normally to make 1 rotation per day. So while the shell shifts with the poles going toward the equator, the winds and oceans go eastward, blowing across the face of the Earth with supersonic speeds, inundating continents with water miles deep. Now, what about the trigger? This turned out to be the most elusive piece of the whole puzzle. We couldn't rely on some supernatural explanation like something's happened in the heavens of a vague character which actually violated the laws of nature. No, it had to be something natural, a part of nature's ordinary structure which disrupts Earth's inner electrical and magnetic structure whenever this happens. We once thought that sunspots could be this cause because they do disrupt the Earth's inner electrical and magnetic structure, but we were wrong. We found out that the nature's power plant is a motor generator system existing in many different magnitudes. It's a basic structure of the universe. The energy structure of an atom is identical to a rotating planet, to a blue-white star, to a galaxy, to a supergalaxy, to all levels of supergalaxies, including a universe, even more. As a neutron which has escaped from its parent atom's neutral zone will separate into particles, a star through a sunspot gives off neutral matter which explodes as it becomes energized. So a galaxy gives birth to an exploding star when a dead star escapes from its neutral zone in the center and as a dead galaxy explodes when it escapes from a central neutral zone of its parent supergalaxy. A planet therefore must act the same as its energy level. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So apparently, once every few thousand years, neutral matter escapes from 860-mile radius inner core into the 1,300-mile thick molten outer core, and there is a literal atomic explosion inside of the Earth. The explosion in the high energy layer of the outer core disrupts completely the electrical and magnetic structure in both the molten outer core and the outer 60-mile thick molten layer. Finally, these ice caps are allowed to pull the shell of the Earth around the interior, with the shallow molten layer lubricating the shift all the way. You can see that the ice ages are not a matter of advancing and retreating ice. It's simply that different areas of the Earth are now in polar regions at different times, for different durations of time, with the changes between positions taking place in a fraction of a day. The story around the world gives a silent testimony. The Berzovka mammoth frozen in mud with buttercups in its mouth. The age of Gorgas below Niagara Falls and St. Anthony Falls, both about 6,500 years. The sudden end of Laurentian Basin ice cap in Canada about 11,500 years ago. The uninterrupted years of evolution on the Galapagos over 11,000. The geological datings in the Murrumbidgee River Basin system in Australia, showing the end of an ice cap there about 11,500 years ago. The age of fossil bones taken from the Wilshire Boulevard tar pits over 11,000 years. The sudden end of all work in the prehistoric city of Tiwanaku, Peru, 9,550 BC or 11,500 years ago. Leonard Woolley's great work in the Holy Land dating Noah's flood at about 6,000 years ago. The end of the Wisconsin ice cap about 29,000 years ago. The sudden 200-foot rise of all oceans all over the world 6,000 to 7,000 years ago. The sudden rise of the St. Lawrence riverbed 6,500 years ago, and the changing levels of shoreline in the Hudson Bay, the granite blocks from the Alps sitting on the eastern slopes of the Jara Mountains at 4,000 feet above sea level, the great legendarian Fraser's uncovering of over 8,000 separate inundation survival legends in the Malay Peninsula region, the Pyark Marsh in Australia, which shows a quick extinction of a civilization 11,500 years ago. Dude, this just keeps going.
Yeah.
This is so. Here we go. Yes, Noah and Adam and Eve, Osiris, Ta'ara, Zeus, and Vishnu have much deeper meanings now, and they join hands and walk with us as we hear Adam and Eve saying, "Listen, for now we can truly share our story with you." So they're pointing to all of these things happening in the world as proof that Adam and Eve and Noah and all of these biblical things actually happened. We're gonna have to really dive into this at some point.
Oh yeah.
I would love to, but this is interesting. This is very
Mhm.
interesting.
Most definitely.
So, how'd you find that?
So I was trying to see if FBI had anything, but then the CIA popped up on the internet part. So I clicked on it and I read it. I'm like, oh, I definitely got to show this tonight.
I wonder why the CIA was so interested in Adam and Eve.
Right.
Do you ever wonder if they have proof, like definitive proof, that we came from a lineage that came from Adam?
And Eve. Yeah, they probably do. I mean, here, look up real quick. Adam and Eve's tomb.
Adam and Eve's tomb.
Hmm.
Is there a tomb of Adam and Eve?
There should be, yes.
The traditional burial site of Adam and Eve is believed to be the cave of Machpelah in Hebron, which is also known as the tomb of the patriarchs. And that is this building right here. Let me pull it up for y'all. So this is where they're supposedly buried. It's also known as the burial of the patriarchs, but it is also known as the tomb of Adam and Eve. But how do we know that they're really buried there?
I don't
And
know.
also, like, didn't Adam and Eve happen thousands of years ago?
Yeah.
So how do we know that that's Adam and Eve's body?
They probably, okay, so here's the thing. Okay. They probably built that surrounding their tombs, right? And made it inside structure.
Right, but what I'm saying is if they died thousands of years ago, then how do we even know that we have the correct people?
Okay, so lineage, right?
Well, sure, family lineage, but we didn't have that.
So,
We didn't have
okay,
that 10,000 years ago, let alone 2,000 years ago. You're
so
talking about sciences that they didn't have.
you have to think over the years, passed down from generation to generation to generation of telling where they are buried at. Only makes sense. I mean, that's the only logical explanation.
You're saying word of mouth.
What?
You're saying word of mouth.
Yes. When it comes to family, right? And they tell their descendants, their grandchildren, their children, and then their children tell their children. It goes by word of mouth.
Don't we have proof now, though? Like, doesn't science claim to have proof now of human life before 20,000 years? Like 20,000 years ago? I'm pretty sure we have. I'm pretty sure we've proved that. And Adam and Eve doesn't date back 20,000 years ago. Adam and Eve dates back actually more recent than that.
Well, okay. You got to remember, though, God created the earth within 7 days, right? Now, God's time's different than our time. So 7 days to us could be longer for him.
Or shorter, depending on on the physics.
Right. So with all that math into play, we don't know how long ago Adam and Eve actually roamed the earth. And then, and if you remember correctly, in the Bible, it tells you how long they all lived of age. Because if you remember correctly, around that time period, Earth was on a different atmosphere than what it is today. And now all that ice that's surrounding the Earth, when the flood happened, right?
Yeah.
And the flood went away. All that atmosphere changed from before the flood. So therefore, all that air that we had
So did
before the
God
flood.
create the flood? Did God create the flood, or did nature naturally create a flood? Because
So
it sounds
if
to
you
me like the ice caps melted, the rotation of the earth stopped and flipped amongst its axis, causing the flood, causing what the people said were the earth would rotate, the water would stay where it was, thus bringing the waters onto the lands. So the problem I have with that is that doesn't sound like God did anything. That sounds like a freak accident happened, and basically the poles had a shift, which, they talk about that happening today. Like that could happen today. They literally talk about pole shifts.
yeah.
Um, if a pole shift were to happen, am I sure that there'd be a flood? I don't know, but it makes sense. If the world's 95% water, the world is
Right.
95% water. Think about it. Like that
Hmm.
that only makes sense. It only makes sense that there'd be a gigantic flood. So is this the work of Almighty God, or is this science?
Well, okay. So you gotta put two and two together, right? It's both. Because God made it happen to punish all the um blasphemy that was going on, and all that cruel nature, all that sin, and all that corrupt going on throughout the world around the times of Noah, because of all that bad things that were going on. Because remember, the book of Enoch explained it all, right? And the book of Enoch's not in the Bible for a lot of reasons.
Well, see, the thing is people are now starting to realize that the Book of Enoch was taken out fraudulently. It was taken out fraudulently. It was claimed to be fraudulent, but even there are even Bible scholars now that are saying that if you read the Bible, you should read the Book of Enoch.
Exactly.
The Book of Enoch was taken out because rabbis disagreed. Rabbis,
Exactly. Because
not
they don't want to comprehend the concept of, fallen angels sleeping with women and creating the Nephilim. But, that's besides the point, because here's the thing. Before the flood, the pre-flood era, right? Way before the flood, all the earth, all the lands were connected, called Pangea.
yeah,
So, can you pull up that map real quick?
yeah.
Because I sent you the map.
Okay, give me a second, buddy.
All right.
I gotta go through your shit to find it, so you gotta give me a second.
You're good. It's at the very bottom.
Oh, is that the map
Before,
at the very bottom?
yeah.
Oh, yeah, I found it. I found it, crew. Have no fear. Robert found it here.
So, what's that say at the very top?
At the
Is
very
that
top, it says Laurasia. It says Pangaea, Siberia, Laurasia.
no, though in the white.
Oh, okay. It says Pangaea, a massive supercontinent that existed over 200 million years ago that gradually broke apart, shaping the continents that we recognize today.
Okay. Now, on that map, what do you see?
I see dinosaurs.
No, not that. Of course, that. But what I'm talking about, like on the map in general, like the lands part.
I see America right here.
Right.
South
And then,
America, North America, Africa. So I see these. Australia was right here. You got India. You got. So I don't understand what Gondwana is. I guess Gondwana was a connector of the three continents. Is that correct?
mm-hmm,
So Gondwana would have been when they broke. Would have been the bridges that connected the two.
mm-hmm.
Okay, and then up here, you've got South China, North China, and then that's attached via land bridge to Laurasia, which is actually Russia and Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I mean, these parts supposedly broke apart, and Africa drifted over this way, Australia drifted below, Antarctica drifted downwards, South America went basically to the west, right? No, it's not the west. It would have been whatever direction left would be on here. South Africa and North America went left, and yeah,
Now, you see why I always said Africa is America and America is Africa?
yeah, it's because you're saying that we were connected at one point, but you mean South America was connected to Africa because
Well,
North America is up here, homie. North
right. But
America.
if you look at that right there, right, all three of them are connected. There's
Sure,
those mountains
sure.
right there in there.
I'm not. I'm
So,
not. I'm not disagreeing with you on the
so,
fact that it's connected.
so those mountains could have been the Grand Canyon.
Sure. But aren't these
And
mountains? I would say these mountains are probably these are probably what the Rockies. These have got to be the Rocky Mountains,
hmm,
like the Colorado Rockies, right? Wouldn't that have to be the Rocky Mountain Range? Maybe
probably
I'm wrong. I might be wrong. I
it could
probably am.
be either it could be the Rockies. It could be shit. It could be any of them.
So, what about Pangea brings you to think the location of the garden would be in America?
Okay, so Pangea, right?
Right.
Back in the day, before this is pre-flood era, right?
Right.
You have the four rivers. Now, the four rivers in the beginning of Genesis said to be near the Garden of Eden.
Right.
Now, if you take in consideration of the fact of that right there, now of today, only two rivers are seen in the Middle East, the Tigris and the Nile. Or no, the Euphrates and the Nile. Where's the Tigris River?
Where?
Exactly. Now, there's two rivers in America, in the Mississippi, that they've said, many people have said, who've done their biblical research, right? Who are Bible scholars, have said that the river that's in Mississippi,
What, the Mississippi River?
yeah, because gopher wood has been spotted in Mississippi. Then you got the red clay, the red mud, spotted in the northeastern of Mississippi.
So you think the Garden of Eden is Mississippi?
That's one theory.
Right.
But here's the thing. Back in the day, during Pangea era, we don't know the exact location.
Right.
Now they said it could be in Jerusalem, it could be in America, it could be let's see, I have the actual information here. I just got to find it. Give me a second. Okay. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and go over this information real quick. The precise location of the Garden of Eden is unknown today. So it's unknown today. These are
Right.
just, theories. As it is generally considered a lost or symbolic paradise. The most common theories place it in the Middle East, specifically near Tigris and Euphrates River. Okay, so the Tigris and Euphrates rivers. In modern-day Iraq, the Persian Gulf, or the Armenian highlands in Turkey. Key theological locations: Mesopotamia, which is Iraq. Many scholars suggest southern Iraq, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers converge, providing a fertile area matching biblical descriptions. And then we have the Persian Gulf. Archaeologist Juris Zarens propose the garden is now submerged under the northern Persian Gulf following the end of the last ice age. Armenian Highlands, Turkey. This theory focuses on the source of the Tigris and Euphrates in eastern Turkey near Lake Van. Others propose locations. Some alternative theories, often considered fringe or spiritual, suggested locations like Ethiopia, linked to the Gihon River, Jerusalem, or even in the United States, as proposed by some historical groups. Biblical and historical perspective. The Bible mentions the Tigris and Euphrates, but the exact geography described does not match current terrain, suggesting it may have been altered by significant event like a flood. Some views argue it was destroyed during Noah's flood. Many theologians emphasize that Eden is intended to represent a lost, perfect relationship with God rather than a physical spot to be found on a modern map. So, can you pull up the other map real quick? Oh, you just passed. There we go. Okay. So, that could be where it could be, right? That's just a question mark. And then you have another on the far right. So see how that says Canaan and not Israel?
Hmm.
So those are two possible locations where it could be. Now, here's this other right here. So the Garden of Eden in Mississippi typically refers to the Palestine Gardens, a unique 40-acre Holy Land folk art site. Um, let's see here. So they also said something about Jackson County, Missouri. And that's the whole Mormon concept.
Well, the Mormons believe that Jesus is going to come back here.
Yeah. Now, the whole Pangea topic, real quick. The concept of the Garden of Eden on Pangea merges theological perspectives, suggesting the biblical paradise existed when all continents were joined. Some interpretations suggest the garden existed on this pre-flood supercontinent, which was a split apart during Noah's flood, drastically altering Earth's geography. Key, key perspectives on Pangea and Eden. Okay? Let's see here. Theological connections. Some believe that in pre-flood world, the Earth had only one landmass, which was Pangea, and the Garden of Eden was situated on it. Noah's flood and split. Some proponents suggest that the catastrophic worldwide flood described in Noah's time was responsible for breaking up Pangea, separating Eden from the rest of the world. Location uncertainty. While some associate Eden with the Middle East, Tigris, and the Euphrates River, others argue that the flood was so destructive that the original location of Eden is impossible to identify on modern day maps, or was potentially buried under the Persian Gulf. Symbolic view. Many scholars treat the garden as a spiritual or symbolic location, a paradise, rather than a specific physical place that can be found on a geological map of Pangea. The scientific discrepancy, the scientific timeline for Pangea breaking up millions of years ago, differs from the young Earth creationist timeline of 6,000 years ago, often used to link the two. Others argue that the division in the earth mentioned in the Bible refers to the division of languages at the Tower of Babel, not the breaking of the continent.
Okay.
So, from about 300 to 200 million years ago, late Paleozoic era, until very late Triassic, the continent we now know as North America was contiguous with Africa, South America, and Europe. They all existed as a single continent called Pangea. So about 300, 200 million years ago
Right.
is the exact, basically, year. So basically, here's what else it says. Pangea is not explicitly mentioned in the Bible, but many biblical scholars and creationists view it as compatible with the Genesis creation account. They interpret Genesis 1:9, where God gathers water into one place to let dry land appear, as referring to a single original supercontinent that existed before or during the flood.
So Elmstead had a comment here. He said, "You guys, I just studied something. I don't know if you remember me telling you guys about a magnetic anomaly in the Indian Ocean. I just asked Rock if Pangea would form it, and it said yes, it's highly likely." That is very interesting. Pangea and the Garden of Eden. I don't know where it would be. I always was told that it was in the Middle East, but I also saw people map it out in like the center of Antarctica. So I don't know, man.
Well, also this Greater Adria, a continent connecting between Italy, North Africa, Zealandia, a scientifically accepted continent that is now 94% submerged under the Pacific Ocean, surrounding the areas of New Zealand and New Caledonia. That was another thing I found.
Right.
So let's see if we can find some other, maps real quick. Okay, so about the same as what I showed a little bit ago with those green circles.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what they thinking could be. Now there was also, if I remember correctly, they also I found a map, but I can't remember where I found it before. I couldn't find it again. But there was a map that I saw that was showing by Jerusalem.
By Jerusalem.
Yeah.
I don't see one that shows them a map of that with Jerusalem.
Hmm.
But this one's interesting.
Yeah.
Here. The green words are the location of the garden, supposedly.
Hmm.
It's really
Interesting.
hard to find like a legitimate map, man, because it's all supposed. It's all alleged.
Yeah. Look up Ezekiel 28:12-19.
Ezekiel 28 through what?
28:12-19.
Says, Son of man, take up lamentation for the king of Tyre and say to him, Thus says the Lord God, you were the seal of perfection, full of wisdom, perfect in beauty. You were in Eden, the garden of God. Every precious stone was yours covering, the sardarius, topaz, and diamond, beryl, onyx, and jasper, sapphire, turquoise, and emerald with gold. The workmanship of your timbrels and pipes was prepared for you on the day you were created. You were the anointed cherub who covers. I established you. You were on holy mountain of God. You walked back and forth in the midst of fiery stones. You were perfect in ways from the day you were created, till inequity was found in you. By the abundance of your trading, you became filled with violence within, and you sinned. Therefore, I cast you as a profane thing out of the mountain of God, and I destroyed you, O covering cherub, from the midst of the fiery stones. Your heart was lifted up because of your beauty. You corrupted your wisdom for the sake of your splendor. I cast you to the ground. I laid you before kings, that they might gaze at you. You defiled your sanctuaries by the multitude of your iniquities. By the iniquity of the trading, therefore I brought fire from your midst. It devoured you. And I turned you to ashes upon the earth in sight of all who saw you. All who know you among the people are astonished at you. You have become a horror and shall be no more forever.
Hmm. And that doesn't, like, okay. That doesn't actually say the location.
No, it's talking about how Tyre fell from the Lord's graces and was casted out of the mountain of God. And the mountain of God is the Garden of Eden.
Hmm.
But anyways, man, it has gotten pretty late tonight.
Yeah.
So we're going to end tonight's episode here, but we are going to get back. We're going to get back to this conversation tomorrow.
Yeah.
I know Crew has more he wants to talk about with this, so we will catch up more with this tomorrow. As always, though, Crew, what is this?
This is the Robert and Kershaw Venmo link, where if you'd like to, not have to, donate, so that way we can get stuff for the podcast, or so we can go travel for the podcast. Anything and everything with this Venmo link is only for the podcast.
But like always, our favorite form of currency is
Share the show.
share the show. So if you know somebody who likes this kind of talk or is into conspiracies or into Bible talk or into just about anything, You share the Robert and Crew Show with them. They'll love us. I promise you. Subscribe to the channel, share the show, like and follow. Do us a solid. Anyways, guys, much love. Peace out from the Robert and Crew Show.